BeastNet is brought to you by James Safety Services in partnership with OCR Buddy and OCR Strong. Here we discuss all things OCR and fitness related. Welcome to BeastNet.
Hey everybody, it's Mike with BeastNet, and I've got with me Dave. Dave, we talked before you went on your trip, and now you've done it.
I've done it. Yeah, amazingly enough.
It's not amazing about it. We all knew you were going to get it.
Appreciate it. 6,172 miles by the time I got back to the YMCA in Wenatchee.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. There were a few times where it was like, I tell you, like, I just want to go home. I broke down in well, first of all, I dropped the bike on me on the kickstand side in Fort Collins, Colorado, because I had the bike loaded incorrectly. It was way too heavy. It was up too tall. And I come into a slanted parking lot and I get off the bike, and I'm short, so I have to shimmy on and shimmy off the bike. And I somehow pulled the left-hand side of the handlebars and just dumped it on myself. And this lovely couple came over and helped me pick it back up, and like, gee, just like Spartan race. And then I get to the Harley Davidson Museum. I see that. It was absolutely glorious. It was just it was cool to be on all these old machines, and just the people that were all there for the same reason. And I toured, the museum campus on that Saturday. That Sunday I toured what they call power plant operations, which is where they build all the motors and transmissions and stuff. And bike was having no problems, right? So I get the gear on it on Monday morning, and I start heading back on westbound Interstate 90. I get about 80 miles out of Malston, Wisconsin, and all the error lights on my dashboard lit up, like check engine, check oil, ABS, ride mode, all of it. I get to the dealer, the Harley dealer there. Malston's only a town of like 4,500 people. Get to the Harley dealer, and those guys at Real Brothers Harley Davidson, give them a shout out to those guys. They literally moved heaven and earth to get me going again. And come to find out, my electronic control module, which is the brains of the operations of the vehicle, just blew up, for lack of a better term. So they called Harley. Harley sent them a new ECM, got it in the bike, got me going. And then I came across Minnesota in like a day. I'm like, I'm out of here. I got to get towards home. And had another problem that happened. Like a short ground wire, or a loose ground wire rather, came off the bike. So I had to take it to J&L Harley in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So big shout out to them. And they tore the bike apart. And by 2:00 that afternoon, I was up and running again and got me on my way. And then from there on, no problems. I toured the Black Hills, and I saw Sturgis before the rally, mind you. And I saw, Mount Rushmore, which my dad always wanted to see, and Crazy Horse Memorial and things like that. And then I started getting through Montana, and I didn't know the eastern side of Montana was mostly plain country. I thought it was all mountainous. And then get to Spokane Valley, and then came across the north part of Washington State. So I skipped Wenatchee entirely, because if I came through Wenatchee, I was just going to go home.
Yeah. And
then hit North Cascades Highway, went and saw my uncle over in Cedar Woolley, rode up to Canada to the Sea to Sky Highway, which Dad always wanted to ride. I rode that. And then here's an interesting one. Got to Lions Bay, BC, came back to Horseshoe Bay, BC, took the boat over to Nanaimo on Vancouver Island, told another biker I was going to ride to Victoria, catch the Swartz Bay Ferry over to Tsawwassen Ferry Port, and then ride to Ferndale, Washington, and stay the night. He looks at me and says, "You can't do that in a day." I did it anyway.
Yeah.
So, and then worked my way down the coast of Washington and Oregon. Went and saw Tillamook, of course, because I was in the area, and got my requisite cheese curds. And then started working my way down the Columbia Gorge, and stayed a couple nights in Tri-Cities. And then a buddy of mine got me a couple rooms in one in Tri-Cities, one in Ellensburg, and then the finish line was the 2nd of August back here at the YMCA. So great trip. Hoping to raise some money for our local Y, which would be a great honor to my dad. And already planning Narrow Way South 2024, which will come up next June or July. That'll take me on the Route 66 highway, which was another dream of my dad's to ride. So this time I'm going to have an application out that people can ride with me.
Mhm.
They can ride part of the trip, all the trip. I'll give them some options. And if people want to drive in a cage, a car, or they want to ride a bike with me, great. I'm going to try to time it to where I might be able to do a race or two. Maybe there's a Spartan or a Tough Mudder or something out those ways. Not bring my full race kit because I've learned this trip that pack only what you need, not everything you think you're going to need. And so I don't want to bring all my mud gear. But if I catch a Tough Mudder or a Spartan when I'm on this bike trip, cool. But I'm hoping to get some other sponsors involved, just even in name only. They don't really have to donate money to me or anything, but you maybe drive some awareness to Spartan races or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's to raise money for a cause that I believe is real worthy. And that's our local Y here in Wenatchee. So yeah, look forward to doing Narrowway South 2024, and then I got 2 more trips I got to plan for the Narrowway series, but of course those will be in 2025 and 2026. So
I mean,
get
it's
your
awesome.
endorsement, Mike. Let's go. Come on, Mikey. Come on, man. Come
It's
on, pretty
awesome.
Mike.
We'll have to get you on.
I
Tell
got
Don
bikes.
we'll get BeastNet. We'll stick BeastNet all over you.
Heck yeah, BeastNet's a supporter, so you guys go.
Always.
I gotta get you on the website, but we can do stuff from the road or whatever. And hey, I got 4 bikes over here, so if you guys want to hop on a Harley, let's go. We'll BeastNet it up. But
It's tempting. I still have I still have an endorsement. I have my
good.
motorcycle endorsement. I've never let that go. So because I some people know this, some don't. When I was 16, I didn't have a car
Oh,
until I was in my 20s. I had
well,
motorcycles. My dad actually, where most people's like dads convince them to get cars, my dad convinced me to get a motorcycle instead.
oh heck
So
yeah.
I had amazingly enough, I had a 1982 Honda Goldwing. At
I had
16.
one. I had an 83 when I was
Yep.
younger. Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah, the 1100.
Yeah. Yes.
Because I was trying to remember, I couldn't remember if 82 was the last year of the 1100. I think 84 was the first year of the 12.
84 was the 12. 83 was the last year of the 1100.
I loved my 1100.
That was the first bike I ever went to Canada on, was my 1183 Goldwing. And oh my gosh. I mean, you know how you get done with a race and you sit down in a comfortable chair, you're like, oh, that's riding a Goldwing. It's
it's
a couch. Hell yeah.
It's a couch on wheels. But when I was 16, when I was 15, I got in a car accident with a friend. My friend was driving. I was in the back seat. He hit a guardrail so hard sideways, the guy next to me, his seatbelt broke and he landed on me, and cracked 3 of my ribs. I ended up getting an insurance settlement out of it. And my dad had Goldwings, and we were at one of the rallies, Goldwing group things. And one of the guys was like, yeah, I'm thinking about selling my 82. And my dad turned and looked at him and said, Mike, I'll give you $3,000 if you throw in the helmets right now.
I love it. That's awesome.
And I'm like, I'll what?
I'll do what now? For how many cookies? But
yeah, so I ended up with an 82 wing, and freaking I bought it. It had like 17,000 miles on it when I bought it.
Oh, that's nothing.
I sold it 4 years later with over 90.
Oh yeah.
Because me and my dad was retired.
Yep.
So he'd be like, hey, want to go for lunch? I'm like, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, Dad. He's like, well, we'll stop at the pass on the way. We'd go in the pass, have breakfast, and go like to Lewiston for lunch. And just go for rides. And I mean, we did the Ironman, I think it was
Iron Butt.
There we go.
1,000 miles in 24 hours.
Yep, 1,000 miles in 24 hours.
I almost got to that.
I've got I somewhere around here. I have the belt buckle because I did the one at Kamloops and back.
Dang,
I'm not Kamloops, Canada. Yeah.
The longest one I've done so far in one day was 972, and that was from LA, Fort Camp Pendleton, to 72 miles south of Bend, Oregon, because I just couldn't see. I was seeing double, and that wasn't at the speed limit. Obviously, that was way fast. But I had a cousin of mine call me up, and after he saw me get home, he's like, "Why did it take you 6-7 days to get to Milwaukee? It should only take you a day and a half." What do you mean? It took me a day and a half. I'm like, yeah, because I don't ride like a bat out of hell on a hot summer day. He rides 20 over the speed limit for fun. He goes, oh, that's your problem. You're only doing 80. I'm like, yeah, because the speed limit was 70 or 75. So yeah, I'm doing 5 over. But the one thing I ran into with my Pan America, because my Pan America is it's the Harley's like first foray into adventure biking.
Mhm.
So it's much taller. And I mean, I hit some of those winds and it's just riding down the road like a 45-degree angle going, I'm going straight. Okay, that's fun. But was able to pick it back up and be able to keep it upright, which was, I tell you, there were a couple times coming out of the winds didn't get really bad until I hit Washington State. Where Wyoming was, I'd never been to Wyoming before. Wyoming was different. Coming across Utah was gorgeous. Utah was just beautiful. Coming through
Oh, it is
Idaho,
gorgeous.
it is. Well, coming out of the Spartan, because I volunteered for Spartan for a couple days, like my days 2 and 3 of this trip, and I looked at the mountain that they climb for the Spartan races down there, and I'm like, y'all have fun now, because
Yeah,
I'm not even
what I've
gonna
heard.
try. I had a friend of mine get sick, who we had to take to the hospital because she got altitude sickness, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not even. You're more of a man than I am. I'm not even like qualified to go up that, so I'll just stay here and be an ambassador for the day, and then hopped on the bike the next day after making sure she was okay, and came through Utah, got into Wyoming, and I'm having lunch at some like truck stop there. It's just I got a Subway there, and I think it was a Love Station. But anyway, I'm telling this guy behind the counter who's making my sandwich about, never been to Wyoming, never seen Wyoming. I know it's a state, whatever. Oh man, son, you're gonna have to worry about those cattle drives across Wyoming and those random animals that come across the road and hit people. And they're like, are you trying to scare the crap out of me? He's like, actually, yeah. Like, you're a jerk. So I just can't. I got to the other side of I got to Rollins, Wyoming, and stayed the night there, which was podunk nowhere. Um, I'd say beautiful town, but there wasn't much of a town. And then came across to North Platte, Nebraska. And by the time I crossed the Wyoming Nebraska border, it went from like nice rolling hills, high desert to flat. Like just you could stand on a pop can and see 1,000 miles flat. And it was just weird to go because I've never driven across the country before. This is a new thing for me. I'm going, I've been to different places, but I've never seen the progression from like one state to another this much.
Yeah.
And like, I just left the mountainous region of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, came into Utah to the bigger mountainous region, came to Wyoming where it was nice rolling hills, and now I'm literally in the plain country. Like, no wonder we don't have races here because we do a beast in about an hour and a half. It just there's nothing. But once it got to Omaha, Nebraska, just the humidity just cranked up just up to the roof, which I'm not used to humidity, mind you. But it was, and then get into Omaha to Madison, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. You get to there, and I have a bunch of stuff on the back of the bike, and I lost a tent, had to buy a new tent, had the Harley dealer there check my tires, and the owner there, or the maintenance guy, says, you got too much weight on the bike, can we send something home for you? I was like, well, thanks, I guess you can send my camping gear home because I'm obviously not camping. And they sent my camping tent, my sleeping bag, and my sleeping pad back to the Harley dealer here in Washington. And I had to like Motel 6 it and Super 8 it up the whole rest of the trip, which was fine. But it was weird because the people were asking me like, did you camp? Like, no, next time I will. It'll probably be half as expensive. But after that, bike was like, okay, I have less weight on me. Great, I can go farther. But then from there, it was into Madison, Wisconsin. And then I stayed in Madison for the 2 days. I was at the 120th Harley anniversary. And then rode into Milwaukee because they wanted like $500 a night for a Motel 6 during this celebration. I'm like, I'm good. I'll pay the $100 a night for Super 8. But I get to the Harley Museum, and it's just, I'm getting toward the Harley Museum. I take the off ramp that I had to take, and for the first 6 blocks going toward the museum, there was nothing but motorcycles. It was the coolest thing I'd ever seen.
Oh, I bet.
I'm just like, there's so many bikes and there's so many people, and there's there's bikes I didn't even know existed. There's modifications to Harleys. I'm like, how the heck to do that? And I get in there, and they actually got to park, next to the museum, which was totally cool. Of course, I had half a dozen Harley riders looking at me like, "What is that thing you're riding?" They're like, it's a Harley. Calm down, y'all. But I get into the museum, and I just lost it. I just started bawling because it's something my dad wanted to see. And talk to the lady behind the counter, and she tells me, or I tell her who I am, what I'm doing. Oh, bless your heart. And I'm like, well, if we were in the South, that'd have a different meaning. But thank you, I know what you meant. For those of you listening at home, if you're in the South, it means you're kind of stupid when they say bless your heart. At least in
Yep.
my experience. But then I get upstairs, and this is where the museum begins, and I just see this line of Harleys. And for those who don't know much about motorcycles, it's not just the brand or whatever. It's like seeing the history of. If it was a Honda museum, I'd probably have the same reaction. But I see this line of Harleys from like 1907 to like 1947,
Mhm.
and they have multiples of these lines of progressions throughout the museum. And I just again had an emotional reaction, and then I turned the corner, and all my tears dried up like instantly. I see this 1903 Harley behind glass, perfectly preserved. And it was like the Mona Lisa moment where you look at the Mona Lisa and discover the history of the universe. It's like, no. So that was really cool to see that and take pictures of it. And then you go through the whole museum, and like one of the inspirations for this trip was the Long Way Down or Long Way Up movie from Ewan McGregor and Charlie Borman, where they used electric powered Harleys to go from the edge of Argentina to LA back in 2018. I was talking to an employee, and he says, "Yeah, we got Ewan's bike downstairs." I'm like, you got what now? We got Ewan's bike downstairs. Nice talking to you. I literally ran down the stairs, ran across the bottom deck before I saw anything there, and went to the off-road exhibit. And I'm like, that's Ewan's bike. Holy cow. I sat there for like 30 minutes explaining to people how cool it was to have that bike in the museum. Do you work here? No, I'm just a fan. It's really cool. But
It's awesome.
I will say, like what we do, like triathlons and Spartans and Tough Mudders and all this stuff, all the training that we do. Before I started that part of my life with that physicality, that training, that whatever, 8-9 years ago, I couldn't have done this. I would have probably made it to Montana and had to turn around and come back. And I was thinking about it because I had obviously a lot of time to think on the motorcycle. But it's like, wow, I'm actually doing this. Like, I couldn't have done this 10 years ago. I was wearing a back brace for the first probably 500 miles, and then it just, it broke. But I threw it away, and I was like, I don't need it. I actually don't need the back brace. I can do this. Like, I'm actually getting healthier because of what I'm doing, the stuff that we do. And it's like, wow, okay. I mean, it's slow progression, but to be able to go, 6,000 plus miles on a motorcycle is hard work. It's not, I mean, you rode a Goldwing, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's not something you can just hop on and go do for fun and, have no preparation for it. So it was just one of those intersections of different parts of your life. You kind of go, wait, dang, okay. Well, that's cool.
It is. It's one of those things a lot of people don't think about. They think, you're just sitting down, but you're sitting down for a long period of time. You're moving your arms. You're having to, muscle the bike around. I mean, depending on the bike, a lot of bikes you can just kind of lean, do whatever, but you're still muscling around a little bit. And like my biggest problem is a lot of people know this, some don't. I have knee issues.
Mm-hmm.
And my knee issues started in junior high when I blew my knee the first time. And so when I was 16 riding the bike and I can remember doing the iron butt with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
I had to stand up all the time or hang my feet down and actually drag them so that I could get my knee. Because otherwise, if I didn't do that, we'd come to a stop. And I can remember multiple times. One time I literally fell over because my knee was locked and I couldn't get my knee to straighten.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I had to stand up and stretch my legs and all that. I mean, it's, it can take a lot out of you for long rides. And I can remember doing quite a bit with my dad where he'd just be like, okay, we're going to we need to be here tomorrow. We're going to leave in the morning. And I'm
Oh,
like,
fun.
why couldn't we leave today? Oh, because I don't want to.
Oh, geez.
So I can remember going from like here to Kamei, Idaho
Uh-huh.
in one shot, just straight there on a day like in the middle of the summer. It was hot out, and I can remember literally we stopped to like stretch our legs next to a river. I
Yeah.
walked down, put my helmet in the river, and then put it back on
Yep. I've done
just
that
to try
before.
and cool my body down because I was overheating completely. So yeah, no,
Well,
it's
the funny part about that is, you know, I should mention that, is my longest day, I think, was 450 miles or 430 miles when I went from Wenatchee to Boise. And then the rest of the days were, you know, 200 to 300 depending, because I didn't want to kill myself, but doing it. But there were some of those times where I'm on the Pan America, and I'm like, okay, my knees are having a heyday. This is not good, and I just dangle them on my foot pegs. And the team that I was going with down to Ogden, Utah for Spartan, they're from Boise, and they the guy driving that car, he asked me, like, why were you dangling your legs? Because my knees hurt. Because I need to actually straighten my legs out. And on the Pan America, I don't have, you know, forward controls. I don't have forward foot pegs. I have them straight down under me. And it's like, if I didn't pop out my knee, it was going to have a bad day. He's like,
yeah.
oh, that makes sense. So yeah, right there with you. It's funny how, well, you mentioned about sitting down and muscling the bike and all that. There's studies out that were commissioned by Harley. I think it was one of them that if you're riding hard, for every hour you're on the bike, it's equivalent to an hour of running in place. Now, I don't exactly believe that. Maybe it's half hour, but it's that much wear and tear on your bike. And I was talking to somebody at the 120th, and I said, if that's the case, how come there are so many, shall we say, large bikers, like make me look small, that are way bigger, like and we come to the conclusion it's got to be the beer and like the alcohol and the food. It's got
It
to
has to
be.
be. Because that was one
There's.
thing when I was with my dad and we'd ride with the Goldwyn group that he was in.
Mhm.
Our motto was not live to ride, ride to live. It was live to ride to brunch.
Yeah, well, there's that too. I mean, if these guys would take care of themselves a little better, you
Mhm.
know, great. But I was looking around at some of the just, and I'm not trying to fat shame anybody, because I'm a bigger guy too. But it's like, we all need to do better taking care of ourselves. And you know, part of the allure of a motorcycle is stress relief. You know, because
Mhm.
it's go back to what Joe said about there needs to be those times in life where you want nothing more than food, shelter, and water. Well, you're on a motorcycle. That's pretty much what you're thinking about, is food, shelter, and water. Um, because, you know, like you said, you dip your hat or you dip your lid in the river to cool yourself off. You know, shelter. You want water. You got to stop, take a drink of water. You want food. You know, and all the problems of life, the things that stress you out. It's like, it it doesn't really enter your mind because you're too busy keeping the bike up.
Mhm.
And maybe, you know, for your listeners and such, maybe that's not something that, maybe a motorcycle is not the thing for them. But I really do encourage people to spend the time to go find that thing that is. Because I was looking at, you know, my own existence, you know, coming back here, and I was starting to get stressed out as I got home. And I mean, dishes aren't done. They've been in here for a month, which was gross, but I got it fixed. And you know, house had been cleaned in a month. I just pretty much packed my gear, got on the bike, and left, because I'm like, I gotta go. But the the thing that I think that we don't do enough in this country, especially in this country, is we don't manage our stress well enough, and we don't take efforts to do that. And we wonder why we die of heart attacks so bloody quick. It's because stress is a killer.
It is.
And we got to be better at it. We got to be better at managing this stuff. So there were a few epiphanies I had on this trip, and a few learnings that I took away from it. Some of them very personal, some of them very, you know, poignant, like this one. But you know, if we can all be a little better at managing our stress, it'll be a lot better addition to our quality of life.
Oh yeah.
And like I said, maybe it's for us, maybe go run a Spartan race. Great. I'm not gonna advocate for that. But maybe it's go walk around the block once a day,
Mhm.
or go to the gym, or whatever. Go for a swim. Just do something that takes your mind off your stresses.
Find
And
something.
yeah.
Because that's one
And
thing that I found is like the last couple weeks I started riding the bike again, my
mhm,
pedal bike, in training, which I haven't been doing since like Ironman really last year. Um, and it reminded me of how relaxing it is
mhm,
that I can put in not my I have the induction headphones. I put on my bone conduction headphones so I can still hear what's around me.
mhm,
Throw those on, turn on one of a podcast or whatever, and go ride. And I did
yeah.
that. I mean, as we record right now, it's the 8th of the month. I'm already over 80 miles this month on my bike because I've just been out pedaling and going to town because it's one of those things. It relaxes me. And I forgot how much that relaxes me, like running does for me and that kind of stuff. And that's not what works for everybody. That's what
No.
got me through COVID was my running. Everyone knows that. That was
Mhm,
my meditation, but I've been having issues with my knees again. So that's one of the reasons why I've been riding more, you
right.
know, trying to get that, get back into that and just feeling how my stress level's dropping. Because right now my stress level's through the roof because
Mhm,
of, personal stuff going on and trying to get everything figured out for my move. But,
mhm,
so I mean, it's been insane, but riding the bike has calmed me
yeah.
again. And it's just one of those things, find that thing, whether it be running, riding a bike, yoga, whatever, find that thing, like, you just said for riding the bike, riding the motorcycle, it brings you down and puts you into that, just that euphoria, I guess is the
Mhm,
right word, that
mhm.
just takes the stress away from us because that is what's killing us. That's one of the
Well,
reasons a lot of people know, like, why I was an operations manager running a demolition company and
dang.
walked away and became a safety person. Took a
Mhm.
huge pay cut when I did it. And everyone's like, why? And I'm like, because my stress level was making my life horrible.
And I know, and I'm not going to speak for BeastNet, mind you, but and correct me if I'm wrong, but here at BeastNet, I'm not sure that you're not advocating that everyone goes out and does a Spartan race or
No,
a Tough Mudder or anything like that, but go out and be physical, go out and do
that's
something with your body.
yeah,
Um, and I'm going to share something personal if that's all right. And
yeah.
we can edit out if you want to. My dad, God bless him, was 125 pounds on a good day.
Mhm.
He did smoke, but he's always been a skinny little runt, and even before he smoked. But Dad would walk. Gosh, Dad would walk miles when he worked at the Dale's Automotive Shop in East Wenatchee, and I put a step counter on him once, and it's like, holy crap, you did 10 miles in a shop. That's amazing. Um, but other than that, that was all he really did, and it didn't really do him any benefits because like his body, there's a lot of things his body couldn't do. It can work on cars, not a problem, but if you said let's go on a 5 mile walk, he could not. He would do it. He would hurt like heck afterward.
Yeah.
And you know, I think if maybe maybe if we would have let him move his body more, he would have had a little more time left. But I can't prove that obviously. But he when he was put into a wheelchair toward the end of his life, and he kept trying to stand up, and he's like, I got to stand up. And at one point, he was in a. Let me start crying. He was in a thing at the nursing home, and it was like a little hallway that goes back to his room, and it has because they have handrails on all the walls, right? And he was there, and he's eating his lunch, and he's just not having a great day. He's like, they won't let me get up. I'm like, what do you want to do? So he grabs one, and this is my dad at 93 pounds. He grabs one handrail, he grabs the next handrail, and he just muscles himself up, and he stands there. And I put my hand under his armpit just to brace him. Nurse comes by. What are you doing? I'm like, I have him. Don't worry about it. And they wanted to sit him back in the chair and just leave him there. And I'm like, he's gonna stand. Back up, please. Well, he kept trying to stand up. He kept trying to stand up, and they finally put him in. And again, this is their protocol, so I can't I can't diss them for following protocol. But they put him in a wheelchair that leaned back where he couldn't get out of it. And he kept trying. And I'm like, and they would not, they wouldn't let me have stay in it because of their protocols and their safety. And I get that. You're a safety guy. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But by the time they did that, within 2 weeks, he was gone. And it's like, if you just let him, just let him move. And
Well,
I
and
really, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think a lot of that comes down to too is, and I mean, I wasn't there. I don't know exactly what happened, but
Sure.
I do know that that was his will. That's what he wanted to do, was stand.
Yep.
You take that will away.
Yep.
You take away you take away the fight.
Yep.
And that's what I think happens a lot of times is they try and make things so comfortable for the person. They take the fight out of them. And at that point, what am I fighting for?
Yep.
It's one of those things. I can remember I was really sick as a kid. And one of the things for me was my parents never stopped me from doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're like, pretty much if you stop them from doing something, what's the point in fighting?
And my dad, he fought his hardest ever. I mean, he wouldn't give up, but at the end of the day, the body won out. And
Yeah.
I think that sometimes we get to a point in our lives where we are, because people, like, you get to a certain age and people are like, oh yeah, you can't do nothing no more, you're worthless. It's like, well, I'm not dead yet, so
Yeah.
I still have them. It's like why I love Paul LaChance, for example. It's like, but Paul's what, 92 now or something, or 82
Something like that.
or something. It's like,
he's up there.
yeah, it's like, and every time I see him, the guy's outpacing me. I'm getting faster, but like the last race I saw Paul in before Utah, he was on his third lap when I could tell him my first, and he's just doing it, and he's up, he's 90 or 80 something, 90 something, 80 something, and I think it was like 82.
I think 80 something.
Yeah, because it was 8 by 80. That was a couple of years ago. 8 trifectas by 80. I was there the day he got his 9th trifecta that year. And it was the coolest thing because here's this old guy out there kicking butt. And, it's like, Paul, and Paul, if you're listening, I want to be like you when I grow up because, dude, you are an inspiration, man.
He is.
And to not be bound by your age. I mean, I got people at my gym thinking I'm in my early 30s. I'm like, well, heck yeah. Because I'm outpacing people at the gym and outpacing kids in my youth group. And, it's like, yeah, I'm going to continue busting my tail because the older you get, the harder it gets to stay at this level. And this first time in my life first time in my life, there we go, I've ever been called an athlete. I've never been called an athlete before. It's like, yeah, okay. I'm going to keep that designation. Thank you very much. So
you get up and you do the work. That's what matters.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people that, there's young kids that, they can lose weight in about 5 minutes by going to the bathroom. And, it's a little bit harder for folks of our age, but, it's what makes getting up every morning worth it is, hey, I got work to do. And, I ain't going to quit. That's for sure. There's been, I got a friend of mine who, he told me the other day, he says something to the effect of, Dave, we're getting old. And I'm like, speak for yourself, son. What are you talking about? And he said something to the effect of, we just can't do what we used to. I'm like, I do everything I used to do. What are you talking about? But I told him this is growing older is mandatory. Your body will grow older, but you have to, you're not going to be 25 forever. But you can reverse some of those things by exercising, by eating correctly, for the most part. But growing old is optional, and I'm be damned if I'm growing old. So that's why I love doing all the races and stuff. Is like I get off my butt and go, like you said, go out and do the work, and that motivates me to do the work. So there's no. That's why I'm 47, hopped on a bike and went across the freaking country.
Yeah.
Because I can do it.
Well, and it's one of those things. I mean, it just keeps you going. And I mean, we've shown, like you mentioned, I mean, when you're stressed out, your living goes down when you're stressed. And not only that, it makes you sick. It's
Absolutely.
proven. There is so many different like scientific proof that stress makes you sick.
Yep.
So if you can find a way to make that stress go down, no matter what it is, I mean, as long as it's healthy.
Well, yeah,
Let's just say that as long as it's healthy. I mean, we're not talking about, things you shouldn't be doing.
exactly. So it's
But
not we're not advocating go out and getting drunk and all
no,
that and stoned every weekend, guys.
no.
I mean,
We're
we're not doing that.
No, what we're advocating is doing things for yourself that make you not, because there's all sorts of things, and it's one of those biggest things that I see now. There's all sorts of things of ways to medicate your stress. Why are we putting ourselves into a life where we need to be medicated to deal with our stress when we could run, we could bike, we could swim, we could do yoga, we could find ways to physically relieve our stress. And that might mean that maybe that dream that you thought you had of the job you wanted, that everyone made you think like forever, like I always wanted to be the manager, I want to be the boss.
Mhm.
I
Right.
became the boss. I hated every minute of it.
I can imagine.
I
Yeah,
hated being the
I
boss.
can imagine.
And then I realized that's not really what I wanted. That's what the world had told me I was
Yep.
supposed to want. And then I realized what I wanted was to help people.
Well, you can be so. I have stresses at my job. We all have stresses at our
Oh, we all do.
jobs, but you can choose how much you let those stresses affect you. And
Hmm.
that's another epiphany I had on this trip of, you've got to be able to say, no, I'm not going to do X, Y, and Z. I felt horrible taking this time off. And my boss was gracious, was awesome. My boss was absolutely wonderful about it. He's like, Dave, you need to take time off. Everyone needs to go do this. I'll see you in a month. Don't worry. We'll cover for you. Go. And it was the most amazing. I mean, first time I've really had that happen. I mean, I went on vacation in this job, don't get me wrong, but like it was one of those things of I can go do this and feel good about, okay, cool. Down, awesome, let's go. Um, so big shout out to my boss, Michael, for stepping in and helping me out there for that month and most of my team. Um, but there are times that jobs try to put upon you, like, you're doing this, so do this, and this, and then have it done, yesterday. And even if you lose your job to a point, you got to be able to say, set the expectations. Like, I can't do that, or I can't do that because of this. Or my personal favorite way of attacking it is, well, thank you for that. I have these priorities that are in the bucket now. Which one of these priorities do I get to drop? Which one of these has to go off the plate to do what you're needing me to do? Because obviously I don't have the cycles to put this in. And what you're doing in that case, and again, this is me on a motorcycle thinking about all this stuff. What you're doing in that case is you are protecting your worth to yourself. You're protecting your own sanity and your mental health, and you're
Hmm.
protecting your company, your job. Because if you're burned out, you don't do anybody any good,
No.
including them. So take a minute, assess the situation, see what the need is, and then if it's somebody else coming at you, go to your boss and say, hey, Joe came to me and asked for this, but I have these priorities in place. And what do I get? How do I shift this around? And honestly, any manager worth their weight is going to help you do that. If you have a manager who won't help you do that, well, that's a whole different matter to discuss. Um, but yeah, you got to protect yourself too, because there's no reason. The burnout rate in this country, especially in the United States, is so stupid high. And we have people, like, I learned one of my directors had years ago from my job, had a heart attack because he went to another company that just basically owned him. And yeah, we don't need to be that way. We
No.
don't need to do that. And um, never feel bad if you get. I mean, everybody should get vacation of some sort or some time off, but don't feel bad about taking it, because we all got to take care of ourselves.
We do. And it's one of those things. I mean, that's one of the hardest things for me. Like when I stepped away from being a manager and went
Hmm.
into safety, was one of the biggest things I noticed was the difference in life work balance. Once I got that kind of, and actually really it's been under control for the most part. Once I
Mhm.
got that under control, it changed everything. Suddenly I was healthier. I felt better. My brain was clearer. I could think better. I could do so many things better because I wasn't at the top, the most I could take stress level constantly and
Yep.
constantly basically in a, you know, fight or flight mode because my stress level was so high. And that's one of those things. If you can get a life balance, and like you said, mental health is the biggest thing. If you have the best job and you're making the most money, but you're so stressed that you can't enjoy it, your mental health is going to plummet. And that's why we
Yeah.
see people who are supposedly these great, successful people end up taking their own lives and dying from suicide because, yeah, they're on the outside, they look very successful, but they're not taking care of themselves mentally.
But even then, even if you're at that high level and you're making that kind of money, there's the same thing still applies. You still have a boss that
Mhm.
you report to. You still have people coming at you with asks. I don't care if you're. I mean, Elon Musk still has a board of directors he reports to.
Mhm.
If Elon's got to take a day off, dude's taking a day off. So it's you still got to be able to have that of that expectation level of you're asking all of this, and I have the cycles and the mental capacity to deliver this. I've got to, what do I shift around? Of course, at Elon Musk level, the man can shift his own priorities around. He's a
Yeah.
workaholic anyway. But you've got to be able to do that even at a higher level of just saying, hey, you know what, you're asking too much of me to be able for me to be able to get it done, and be able to be sane and not freak out. So yeah, even we just yeah, we all just went and ran a Spartan race. I'm kidding, but that's okay. Let's get Elon Musk out on a Spartan course. We'll end this dispute with him and Mark Zuckerberg real quick. See
Oh, yeah.
which one of you guys decides to run a Spartan the quickest. In which case, you get to have the bragging rights.
I think it'd
But
be Elon.
oh hell yeah! But well, I don't know. Zuck's in pretty good shape. I mean,
I mean, he is. And most people think he's an android anyway. So
he might be. I mean,
he
of
might
course
be.
he's yeah. Zuck's yeah. I can see that actually. Um, that's actually terrifying now that I think about it.
Isn't it?
But but the that's why I looked at this NeuroA trip, like I said before, and 10 years ago I couldn't have done this because all the stresses and whatnot, and just my physical health. But once I got to Boise and I stayed the night, I'm in a hotel. I'm kind of hurting a little bit because I'm like, oh, my back, my butt, oh, everything hurts. Can I continue? And then the next day, I sunk up with those friends of mine that were going to Ogden. So I'm like, no, I'm getting to Ogden. It's only 330 miles away. Well, our state is only about 350 across the state. So if I remember correctly, they're 360, something like from Seattle to Spokane. And so I'm doing that in a day, and I'm like, okay, I haven't done that in a while. And then it's like, by the time I got to Rollins, Wyoming, like, I'm actually doing this. Like, I have no other stress in my life except to get my tail to the Harley Davidson Museum in time for the 120th celebration. Cool. All right. So, and when I showed up there, it was like, I did it. By the
Yeah.
grace of God, I actually did it. Now I got to get home, and that's where the problems came in. But those are just obstacles that you got to overcome anyway, no matter what you do. And it was actually a blessing to have those, because it made me stop and think, like, okay, if this doesn't work, how are you going to get home? And part of me, I remember one night, the first night there in Wisconsin, in Mouser, Wisconsin, I started crying in the hotel, and I'm like, I just want to go home. I just screw this trip. I just want to go home. I'm done. And I thought about it, like, no, if they can't repair the bike, you go find a truck and a trailer that you can go rent, some tie downs. You put that bike in the back of that truck and you drive that sucker home, and you complete this trip.
Mhm.
Get it done. And exactly what my dad would tell me. And there's so many times in our lives where we are so stressed, so freaked out, like you said, about taking our own lives, that we decide to end it, find a way to end it. Instead of, by the time I got done, by the time I pulled back into the YMCA with all the bags in the back of the bike and all my gear on and hot and sweaty and nasty and just like, I'm here. Like, I've crossed, this is my finish line. I said I'd be here at noon. I'm actually here 5 minutes early. Heck yeah, I'm here. And there were people to greet me. And it's like, no matter what the problems were, no matter how many times I wanted to quit, how many times I'd almost decided to cash in and give up, that being there at that time when I said I would be there to cross the finish line, and like I said, hopefully raise money for our local Y, and to honor my dad's memory in that instant was more of was a better feeling than anything. That was worth it to go through all the crap I had to go through to get to that point. All the times I almost fell off the bloody motorcycle because of wind and rain and the rain in South Dakota. But wind and rain and nastiness, but to be able to see the things I saw, people I met, and be able to get to that point was worth everything. And Narrow Way South 2024 is going to be even bigger trip. Instead of 6,000 some miles, it's going to be closer to 7,000. So again, I've still got about the 30-day window to get it done. But I've learned a lot this trip, and I've learned a lot about my own mental health and my own struggles and my own, take time out for yourself, David. Like, practice what you're preaching here, man. And I hope that certain people, hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Mike, Don, if you're listening, will hold me accountable to what I'm saying, even when you move to Texas, because I'll tell you right now, there, Mandal. Oh, you're wearing a shirt. Is that say Mandalorian on it? Your shirt there?
Yes, it does.
I will be darned. I hope that that you're not rid of me, even though you're moving that far away. Okay. I am coming down there for my birthday, so I'll see you. I'll be down there in October.
You're going to be doing the ultra with me in October then?
No, I won't. No, I won't.
I'm doing it with More Heart Than Scars. So we're going to take an athlete through.
I'm okay. So, okay. I will have to find out what it takes to get my stuff upgraded to ultra, but I don't know if I could survive an ultra right yet, but I'm working on it. Yeah.
There's a group doing the beast too. So, I mean, there's a group of us doing the ultra and a group doing the beast.
I will just seek out for the group doing the beast. I'll have to get my More Hearts and Scars and my BeastNet jerseys going on, because I'll be there. So that Friday is my birthday, or that Saturday. So the day we run the beast. So, woohoo! We'll go out for birthday cake afterward.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna do the ultra, probably the whole ultrafecta weekend.
Okay.
Because I'm dumb, and then because that's the one thing I haven't done really with Spartan besides hurricane heats. I'm not a big hurricane heat guy. I've done the 4 hour and that's it. I know you are, but I have never done an ultrafecta where I've done the whole ultra and then a sprint and super the next day. So I'm gonna go.
Are you gonna be medicated or?
Probably. Whiskey helps.
No. I'll buy you the first shot anyway. You've heard it here, folks. Dave will actually buy somebody alcohol. I don't buy people alcohol.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be a fun one. I mean, the nice part too is that, I mean, for me, it's a 2-hour drive home from there.
Well, yeah. Once you actually get moved.
Yeah, by then I should be moved and down there in Conroe, which is about 2 miles away. And then World's Toughest is the next month at the original place that they did the Dallas Beast. They're doing World's Toughest because 2 years ago, Dallas was in one location, not the original, the one it was in 2 years ago. Yeah. And then last year they moved. So they only did it in the one location once. That's where World's Toughest is.
Do you need anybody for your pit crew?
I don't know yet. I got to figure it out because that's another one I'm doing with More Heart.
Okay.
So,
well, if I can, depending on, actually, you know what? I got a web browser right in front of me. Yeah. When is World's?
It's in November. It's like a month later.
I'll look at it later and just I'll see if you need somebody for your pit crew. I'll go down and be there. Oh, yeah. So
because one of the reasons I want to do it too is in 2020, me and my friend Charity were supposed to do World's Toughest as a team. Well, I mean, most of the listeners know, and me and Don still haven't done an episode because we just haven't been able to get to just our minds fully wrapped around it, even though it's been like 6 months almost. Charity died 6 months ago.
Right.
Just randomly, which just tore me apart. But I mean, we were supposed to do World's Toughest together. And then we talked about doing it this year. And then after she died, I found out that More Heart Than Scars was doing it with an athlete. And I'm like, well, that's what Charity would would want to do something like that. So I think I'm gonna get a picture of her sticking on my pack, a laminated picture, and
There you go.
Charity's gonna go with me through World's Toughest.
That's can you do this is a dumb question, but can you do like because world's toughest is a 5 mile loop, right?
I think so.
Can you only do you have to do every obstacle or do you know?
No, I think you can
Yeah.
walk. I think you can skip. I think you
Okay,
can.
because
But I
there's
think
some that I can't do, but
you have to hit a certain mileage though, I think, to get the medal. And I don't remember what it was.
okay,
But
I'll look into it.
because I know the
Because
goal is 25, I think,
mhm,
for this year for the group that I'm going with. It's 25.
okay, well maybe I'll look into it and see what my race schedule looks like, and I'll just pop down there with you because I know I'm supposed to be in Arizona for a trifecta weekend sometime in November.
Yeah.
But
Because what it looks like for me, the only Spartans I'm doing this year is the Dallas Ultrafecta.
mhm,
I mean, Hawaii isn't happening. Plus, I mean, I'm not on a huge Spartan kick at the moment. So,
I know.
but
Well, and that's give me 1 second. I'm gonna move my camera so I can stand up. That's the I enjoy the races. I enjoy
mhm,
the stuff, but I could definitely see where people would get because you've been running since what 2016 or something like that.
15.
Oh, 15. Okay, so you've been doing it for quite a while. I can see why some people get a little like, okay, I want to do something else now. Um, and there's nothing wrong with that. I
No.
mean, you're still keeping your body moving. It's not
Yeah.
like we're loyal to like we're like have to run Spartan, we have to run Tough Mudder. Like it was in the old days where it was you run a Spartan, oh you must run a Tough Mudder. Oh,
Yeah.
you're gonna
Now
love
they're,
this. Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
I'll say now they're just the same company. For me, I'm more into the triathlons now.
Sure.
So I've been enjoying the triathlons. I still like doing the mud runs, but the
Hmm.
triathlons has become my new challenge.
Well, this one thing that I ran into this girl named Trisha on the ambassador booth at Utah. And she's a lovely person. Trisha, if you're listening, you're awesome. I hope you're great. I hope you're doing great. Um, and she's a ball of energy, right? And she shows up to a Spartan race wearing a Tough Mudder ambassador onesie or penny and her Tough Mudder bandana. And I'm like, the heck are you doing? And I'm trying to stir up the rivalry. And we even filmed a video for the social media manager of me with my big arms and her arms about yay big, and arm wrestling and Tough Mudder beat Spartan, and but she got to run her first Spartan race at Utah, and I'm like, are you mental? Why are you doing your first one here? Are you crazy? And she did the sprint that day, and she said, yeah, it was great. She prefers Tough Mudder better, but it was interesting just to have her there and have the kind of the rivalry kick
Yeah.
back up of Spartan versus Tough Mudder. Like, you understand they're the same company now. I mean, just
They
letting
are.
you know. But
Well, and that's the
but
thing that's funny is for a long time because I started doing Spartans in 15. I
mhm.
didn't do my first Tough Mudder until 19, I think. And
Okay.
part of the reason was one, because of the competition between the two, and two, because I don't like being shocked.
Yeah, I skipped that obstacle because I had a head injury as a kid.
Yeah, that was my
I
biggest worry was the shock, but I did it anyway. I finally did it and I have no problem with the shock now. But I mean, I didn't like
did
the
you
idea of that.
well, and they're supposed to have like an electrician there at all times. And I have been to the Seattle Tough Mudder where I think for Electric Eel, which is the crawling version, the
Hmm.
crawling one, there's nobody around.
No.
And I'm like, there's not a volunteer. It was last year actually. There was no and Tough Mudder, you listening? No diss on you. You need to fix this and fix it now, right now. There was no electrician. There was nobody watching it. There was no volunteer. Nobody. And these people are crawling through this thing, and I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? So I'm with a youth group kid, and Logan's an awesome kid. He's 16 years old. He's just barreling through this thing. And he looks at that and I'm like, your mother and your father will shoot me. Don't even think about it. And we walked around it, but like I'm looking around, I'm like, is there nobody here? And Logan did the other side of it. There was nobody there. But you get to electroshock therapy, which is the very end obstacle. And there's an electrician, there's somebody watching it, there's a volunteer, there's this, there's that. And I'm like, I'm good. I don't need to have 10,000 volts on my wazoo. I'm all right.
Well, I made the mistake going through the, the electric eel. I went through it and I'm crawling low, trying to
Mhm.
keep myself from getting the things. And I'm like, I know to make myself move faster, because I'm stupid and I don't think about, shit. I
Me either.
reach out and I grab the frame to pull myself forward to pull faster so I could slide myself. Well, the
You,
frame's metal.
oh,
So
dude.
literally grabbing the frame, that was the biggest shock I've had in that. Like my freaking
Yeah.
my whole left arm was just like boom, and like
Uh,
numb for like 5 minutes. I'm like, well, that was stupid.
yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't exactly brainy. Holy
Didn't even
crap,
think
mate.
about it. I'm just like, I can get faster. I'll just grab the frame and pull myself and
Oh,
slide. Like I no. Yeah.
you could definitely get faster.
Oh
But
yeah. Yeah.
I saw one guy at one Tough Mudder. He did something that was incredibly stupid and brave at the same time. He decided to do the Iron Cross, and this is an instance where you're not really taking care of yourself. You're just kind of showing off. He walks up to the very edge, and I got a monitor over here, so and he just puts his arms straight out, and he walks through it and hits every single wire he possibly could. And I'm like, okay, crackhead, because that's just terrifying.
Oh, it is.
But I do these races like we said before. I do these races, and you do too. Races to have something to train for, to have a challenge, to get my butt off the couch, etc. I don't need to go out and do things that are going to kill me or hurt me.
No.
And I'm sorry, you have one little like you said with the frame. You couldn't be the only one who grabbed that frame that day. I'm sure there was somebody else.
Yeah.
And they could have had a heart problem and died of a heart attack or whatever. And it's like those kind of things. I'm good. You can leave that crap at home. But
Well, that's one of the things for me. That's why when you get people all the time like, oh, I can't believe they walked around an obstacle. They're not competing. They're not one of the
exactly.
competitive raids. They're there to run their race. For whatever reason, you don't know what medical issue they have. It could be the
Uh-huh.
reason why I have a friend who has a metal plate in his head. You
Oof.
don't want to get shocked with that.
Well, there was a thing going around Facebook or Instagram today, and I responded to it, and I was kind of pissed off when I responded to it, but then I deleted it because I'm like, I'm not going to start a flame war, whatever. But there's this obstacle that if that's from the U.S. Army, it's one of the hardest in the U.S. Army, and it's this like slanted ladder, and you have to go over and under. They call it the weave,
Mhm.
and it'd be fun to play on, but like the social media manager, whoever posted it at Spartan says, hey, what do you think about bringing this to Spartan? and and I'm sitting there going, absolutely not. We're trying to rip 100 million people off the couch. We're not going to stack the deck against them and make it toward it. If you want to put it on the 3 mile elite course, have fun. But if you're putting it on the average everyday open course, forget about it. And some person posted on there that people don't follow the rules and they walk around obstacles and they're not supposed to, and they should go back to the good old days where they had to do burpees and blah 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 blah. Like, look, like you just said, I'm out there running my own race. I paid my $150 or my $800 a year for my season pass. I'm not getting money for this. I'm busting my butt so I can hopefully do that obstacle again next year and do it better. I don't need your approval. Shut your pie hole. And if you want to be in the elite wave, knock yourself out. I'm not going to come after. I'm not going to come critique you, but just shut up and let me run my race. And I get so bent out of shape when I see so many people get butthurt because somebody, oh, you walked around that obstacle. Yeah, I did because I have a busted knee or whatever.
Yeah, run your race. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing. It's run your race. And I think that's the hardest thing for most of these people. They get so stuck on what other people are doing. It's like, we're not here. I'm not out there racing against you.
No.
I'm racing against who I was.
Uh-huh.
That's what I'm racing against.
Absolutely. And they went on to say in this post, this comment this person made about people are taking the easy way out. Like you said, you got a buddy who's got a metal plate in his head. Okay, well, for him, it's not the easy way out to not go through electroshock therapy, for example. It's the smart thing to do. I can't climb a rope by myself yet. I'm not hauling my butt 30 feet in the air to go climb a rope to ring a bell and then let go of that rope and land 30 feet on the ground. I'm going to have a bad day. So, people, if people want to compete and they want to be in those elite waves, more power to them. Have fun, knock yourself out, try to win some money. Hey, I know there's one girl, Cassie, I can't say her last name. Or no, it's Callie, excuse me. She's a redhead girl from the East Coast. Now she's lives in Colorado. Lovely girl, world champion, etc. And she's an elite athlete. I got to cheer her on at Fort Collins, and it was the coolest thing ever because she's finishing her, I think her sprint that day, because I didn't do the sprint that weekend because of inclement weather. But I got to actually like cheer on an elite, like she smiled, climbs the A-frame, and I ping her on Instagram later. Said, "Thank you so much for that. That was awesome. I didn't have a cheering section here." But if you want to go run the elite and have people cheer for you, knock yourself out.
Yeah.
But leave me alone when I have to walk around a wall because I have no help getting over it. Just leave me the heck alone.
Yeah.
I'll go do my penalty loop.
It's like one of those things for me. It's I've ran competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And I ran the competitive. When I ran the competitive heats, I did every obstacle. If I didn't do the obstacle, I did my 30 burpees. I did what I was supposed to because I was running the competitive heat.
Right.
When I run open, I've had multiple times where something's either happened on the race or right before it, or it's it's the third race of the weekend and my body's barely moving. I can remember Hawaii when I did the first time I did the trifecta. I walked by every water obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's looking at me like, why? And I'm like, my feet are literally bleeding at this point. I'm not putting them in that water
Oh, heck no.
because I don't know, at this point, what's going to happen. I did all the ones I could, but I mean, my body was at a point that there was a reason why we go open. We go open
Right.
because we're there to try and just beat ourselves from last year, do better, and move.
Yeah.
If you want someone to make sure they're not skipping obstacles, go to the competitive heats.
Yeah.
If you're in a competitive heat and someone beats you and they didn't do their obstacles, okay, fine. But if you're in the open heat, shut up.
Pretty much.
Run your race and shut up.
I've got a buddy of mine that I don't race with much anymore. And we actually race together now, but we didn't for a little bit because we had those discussions of, well, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'm not. I'm in an open heat. Be quiet. Leave me alone. But you know what? Now I can pick the Atlas stone up. I can deadlift it, put it on my shoulder, and walk with it. I wasn't able to do that last year. That's a win. I can finish my sprint in less than 3 hours. I can do it in an hour and a half now. That's a win. I got 2 deca trifectas for the love of God. That's a win. It's like, come on, man. I'm winning here. And you're sitting there poo-pooing on me because you didn't follow the rules. Well, that's one thing. If you open up the rule book, it actually says for elite and age group waves.
Yes.
It's like, I'm not neither of those. Shut up and leave me alone. Let my mental health be okay being here.
Spartans come out multiple times, and it says right there, if you don't have the ability to do this obstacle, don't do it.
Pretty much.
So,
and
I mean,
people, they want to push the envelope and they want to do all that. And that's more power to them. But you know what? At the end of the day, like you said, I'm out there better than myself. Leave me alone.
You're doing better than you did last year. And that's what you're winning because you're doing better than you did last year. How many of these people do you see where they do all the obstacles, do everything they're supposed to, but they're actually doing worse?
Yeah.
I see it all the time where it's like, okay, cool. You beat me just like you do every year, but you didn't beat yourself.
But you're 10 minutes behind you last time.
You're 10 minutes behind you last time. So, and I'm 10 minutes above mine. So, I mean, at the rate we're going, eventually I'm going to catch up to you.
Exactly.
So, and that's one of those things that you got to look at things not in the aspect of everybody, it's you. And that's one of the things I think in COVID, when it first happened and I started running a lot more, that was one of the biggest things that I took away from it. I stopped comparing myself to everybody around me. Oh, I need to do like he's doing. I need to be really good like him. I'm like, I just need to be better than I was yesterday.
And that was the other epiphany that I had on this motorcycle trip was, you know what? I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. I'm me.
No.
And
you're Dave.
I'm gonna be the best Dave I can be. If you don't like it, whatever. The one thing the biggest takeaway I had from this trip was along that same lines was, if you're in my life, it's because I want you here and you want to be here. If you're not in my life and I want you in my life, that's on you. And you and I've talked about this before. I've lived a life where I've tried to serve others as much as I can. And that does involve probably getting taken advantage of quite a bit. But it's to a point now where it's like, you know what? I'm just going to be the best me I can. I'm going to be the best version of myself I can be. I will serve to the best of my ability. But if you're close to me, it's because I want you here. If I don't want you here, deuces, you're out. I don't need to waste cycles about your drama, or your negative attitude or whatever. And if you want to be in my life, terrific. That's great. We can have that chat. But I'm through wasting my time on people that drag me down. And a lot of times it's at a race where, you didn't do that or this. You know what? Just bug off and leave me alone. And we can have those discussions later. So,
And that's
but
kind of what finally did it for me when I hit that moment. And it was one of those things, because a lot of people know, like, in 2020, right as COVID hit, I changed a lot in my life. I
Mhm.
dropped a couple groups that I was in, didn't completely drop them, but stepped way back
Right.
from where I was basically leadership to barely in the groups. I switched jobs, and then all of a sudden COVID shut down the world. And it finally came to that point of I was done chasing people.
Right.
I was done trying to serve people who didn't want me there. It's like, I'm not going to chase you anymore. And then I got people all the time like, what happened to you? I quit chasing you. I
Mhm.
quit caring. I mean, it's not that I didn't care. I just quit chasing. I figured if you wanted me be a part of this, you wanted me to be in your life, you would come to me.
Well,
And
the
I'm done chasing. So
the one thing I've learned on that too through this motorcycle expedition is I never stop loving and caring about the people I love. But when they say, when they don't talk to me, they tell me they push me off or whatever, it's like exactly that. I'll be here when you want to talk, and I'll be here to help you if you need something. But I'm not gonna worry about it.
no.
And that includes anybody that's on my race team or my Narrowway Moto Ventures team, anything I do out in public. It's like, if you don't want to be here, don't be here. We can have those reconciliations, those discussions later, but you're not gonna drag me down and disrupt my peace about myself, because I know that I'm who I am. And if I've done something stupid, like, yeah, call me out on it. Let's have that talk.
Yeah.
I have no problem getting corrected about my own stupidity. But at the end of the day, it's like, if I haven't done anything, well, then you're the one with the problem, not me.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, people just need to do more encouraging and less coming down on each other.
They do.
Less, I did it right, you didn't do it right, you should do it. It's like, just everybody chill, treat people with freaking kindness, for the love of God. But
And that's, I think, if you take nothing away from our conversation today, that's what everyone should take away. Be kind.
exactly. There you go.
Bill and Ted had it right. Be excellent to each other.
Dude, I'm seeing the next BeastNet shirt. Be excellent to each other.
Oh, I want that. I want that.
Let's
What's
not-
funny
let's
is
not-
actually the other show that I do, the one I do
Yeah.
is Brandon Valentine, my stage name that I've been doing
Yeah.
forever, Re-Nerdish. That's actually what the co-host says every time we shut off. He says, be excellent to each other.
Oh, we got to make a shirt, dude. We've got to get that on the BeastNet.
Yeah.
We got to do that. That's awesome.
So
All right, brother. Well, hey, it's been
All right.
great talking to you.
it has been. We're hitting that hour mark. So it's awesome talking to you. So we got to do this more often. So
Yes, sir.
I definitely, I'm going to hold you accountable for next year on that. And I'm going to have to try and find a way, because I was looking at the map earlier today when you showed it. You go through Texas.
Yes,
So
I do. Yes, I do.
I may have to pop up and surprise you and take a little bit of ride with you there.
Hey, I'll
Because
tell you
I
what.
think that's going to be a purchase that I'm going to have now. I'm gonna be in Texas and I can ride more. I might be getting a bike again.
I'll tell you what. There's a place down there called Thoroughbred Power Sports that I ran into a guy in Nelson, Wisconsin. He's driving this thing. It looks like a trike, but it has a steering wheel. And I'm like, okay, what the heck is that? He goes, it's trike, but it's got a Ford Ranger engine motor, Ford Ranger motor in it. I'm like, the biggest takeaway from that thing, which I thought was hilarious, his wife was complaining. She's right behind him. She complained the air conditioning was out. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I've got air conditioning on it. I'm like, I gotta tell Mike about this. So I'll do some research and pick you, but I guess they still build them. So
Interesting.
yeah, a little bit. Anyway, brother, good talking
right.
to you, man.
Good
Bye.
talk to you, and we'll talk again soon.
All right, man. Catch you later.
All right. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the BeastNet podcast. If you haven't done it yet, find us on Facebook, like and share the podcast. give us a review on iTunes or Spotify. All these things will help to expand the show in the future. Don't forget to subscribe and let us know what you think and what you'd like to hear.